shift. I'm not exposing them as much as I could be.
The management here is still planning how to make the most of limited doses.
Clearly we want to vaccinate as many over 80s as possible because they're a vulnerable group.
So far, their at-risk medical staff, local care home staff and vulnerable patients will be first. The rollout has been hampered by the Pfizer vaccine storage requirements, a super-cool -70 degrees, which currently makes it impossible to split up large batches. The regulator has found a way of repacking the vaccine in refrigerated foods, but also has to show that the vaccine manufacturer to verify the process. Only then can the logistics chain stretch from hospital freezers into care homes and the residents who need the vaccine most.
I think the important message is that they've not been forgotten. We all very much understand how important it is to get this vaccine to them. As soon as we can find a way around it, or we've got
No.
hopefully doing that.
It's not yet clear when the next vaccine might be approved.
Thank
The
you.
government remains insistent care home residents will receive the Pfizer jab.
There are logistics issues, but the Department of Health is working with MHRA and the supply chain to make sure that we have a secure plan to deploy this. But again, we will be deploying it this month in January.
Doses of vaccine are on their way from Belgium. Northern Ireland announced it had received its first shipment today. Scotland and now Wales have confirmed they plan to start vaccinations on Tuesday. Given protecting the NHS has been the name of the game since COVID arrived, the fact vulnerable patients and the staff who care for them will be vaccinated within days is a good place to start. Tom Clark, News at 10.
Well, there is some encouraging news too around coronavirus cases tonight. The latest official figures show that cases in England are falling everywhere except the northeast. Estimates put the total number of infections around 664,000 in mid-November. Fast forward a fortnight and 521,000 people tested positive for the virus, and the government's scientific advisors believe the R number, the rate at which infections are passed on, has fallen to between 0.8 and 1 across the whole of the UK. Tom is here. Tom, what do you make of those latest figures?
Well, it's clear the lockdown efforts that we've made are working. The outbreak university now is shrinking, except that slight rise in Wales that we're dealing with at the moment. So that's working. However, there are still quite large numbers of coronavirus cases out there, even the outbreak is falling, and that's possibly why the 4 chief medical officers of the UK wrote to the healthcare professionals today, warning them that although they might start vaccinating as early as next week, it's going to take a full month for anyone who's vaccinated to see the benefits of that. And they think there will be marginal impacts, they say, on the numbers coming to the health service for the next 3 months. We can't expect to see benefits of that vaccination campaign very soon. So combine the winter peak of the NHS area with the fact we'll see COVID coming in, they're in for some hard months ahead. But they do project that by springtime, vaccination will start to make its presence felt, and we should see a real burden being lifted off the health service.
I think fingers crossed all round. Thank you very much indeed, Tom. Well, as Tom was mentioning there, in Wales, case rates are higher now than they were before the country entered its 17-day firebreak lockdown in October. So a new restriction was launched today, banning all bars, pubs and restaurants from selling alcohol and forcing them to close by 6 p.m. except for takeaways. Drinkers can still partake at home, but it's hoped that the ban on public drinking and nighttime gatherings will remove some of the situations in which the virus travels most easily.
The restaurant day follows a routine, from setting tables outside to preparing food inside. That has changed in Wales as the law now makes it against the law to remain open after 6 p.m. or to serve alcohol at all. Hospitality's been hit again and hit where it hurts. Cutting off evening trade, they say, will lead to losses.
For us, it's a massive effect. I mean, most of our trade comes from after 6 p.m. We don't really rely on much trade before that.
Like so many publicans and restaurateurs, Jazz wonders why, when they've done everything asked of them to be COVID secure, they are being punished. So we asked the man who took the decision to explain. He understands that your policies are about protecting people from ultimately from dying, but wanted to know why you are killing his business and so many others.
The risks of coronavirus in Swansea are absolutely real, and they are more real in the BAME community than almost any other part of our society. Collectively, the people of Swansea face a coronavirus crisis.
With what they hope is laser-like precision that will drive down rising infection rates, the Welsh Government have focused their COVID-fighting policy on indoor entertainment too. Richard Jones has run his business for nearly 3 decades and now he's shutting for the 3rd time this year.
When you've lost Christmas, and then I know in January, it's a boom because we're into winter, we've got to get through to March, and that's all my budget is, to try and survive to March and start the business again. And after 28 years, that's quite hard to take.
As the pubs shut tonight, there is no clarity on when they will next open after 6 p.m. COVID cases continue to rise, though it's likely to be weeks before anyone in Wales can enjoy an evening out again. Rupert Evelyn, News at 10, Swansea.
Some of the communities subject to the harshest restrictions in England, Tier 3, are gearing up for the mass testing the government has promised to help them move down to a lower tier. Such mass testing was a success in Liverpool and allowed it to be placed under more lenient restrictions. But the city's programme had the help of the army, something others will have to do without.
For Liverpool, it was the right kind of positive result.
The more people get tested, the better we can protect that great city and drive the disease down.
A month of mass testing supported by 2,000 soldiers, which ended in the city escaping Tier 3 restrictions. This afternoon, Wolverhampton's scheme got off to a slightly damper start. Just council workers invited today, but their ambitions are similar despite having no military support, just 100 staff and volunteers.
How many tests can you deliver? We know we can scale up to at least 10% of the population. We think we can do that over a period of time. Next 2 weeks.
And you have the staffing, the capacity to be able to do that?
We've got a really good model of being able to train.
From Monday, anyone here can come for a test, even if, like me, they don't have symptoms, and they'll get their result within an hour.
The advantage to such a quick result is if I test positive, I can isolate quickly and avoid giving the virus to others. The question is whether enough of these tests can be done and it can bring the infection rate down by enough to get Wolverhampton out of Tier 3.
The case rate here is more than 250 per 100,000 people. When Liverpool began its mass testing programme, its figure was 300. 4 weeks later, it has fallen to 91, but that has coincided with England's national lockdown.
The comparisons which we're starting to see are comparisons of what happened in Liverpool compared to the areas around Liverpool which didn't get access to testing. And it looks from the graphs I've recently seen that the rates are all very, very similar. They're all declining at the same speed. So it's not very strong evidence that actually it was the mass testing which did this.
But leaders here say it will prevent the virus from spreading among people who don't know they have it, and hope the chance of getting businesses back open will convince people to take part.
If you test positive, you've then got to self-isolate.
Yeah, but at least then it keeps everybody else safe that you've been around.
I think if I get tested and I have to self-isolate, it's not worth that risk to get tested.
It's best to know, isn't it, for other people's sake as well. That's what you've all got to do. Don't just think of yourself.
Today, the city's council leader has led by example. He hopes to quickly increase testing sites and volunteer staff. The real test will be whether it does bring the numbers down. Ben Chapman, News at 10, Wolverhampton.
A 16-year-old boy was among the 4 workers killed in an explosion at a wastewater treatment plant near Bristol yesterday. Luke Beaton was an apprentice at Wessex Water's recycling centre in Avonmouth. Avon and Somerset Police named the 3 other men who died as Michael James, Brian Vickery and Raymond Wines. Police and the Health and Safety Executive are investigating the cause of the blast. A coroner has ruled that the death of a 12-year-old girl who drowned in the River Irwell last year was an accident. Shukri Abdi's mother had sought a verdict of unlawful killing, alleging that other children with Shukri had caused her death. but the coroner found no evidence to support that conclusion. Shukri's family also accused Greater Manchester Police of failing to investigate the case adequately, but the Independent Office for Police Conduct said they were satisfied that the investigation was conducted properly. Some of the million Rohingya refugees who have been living in Bangladesh for years are finally moving, but not back to their former homes in Myanmar. The Rohingya have been fleeing persecution in Myanmar for many years, but most fled following a 2017 military crackdown described by the US as ethnic cleansing. In total, it's estimated that more than 1 million Rohingya Muslims crossed into Bangladesh, where the government restricted them to crowded camps around Cox's Bazar, near the border. Now, the first of up to 100,000 have been relocated to the island of Bhasan Char in the Bay of Bengal, which is regularly flooded by monsoon rain. Many say they've been told to move to the island for a better quality of life, although some now fear the conditions there could be worse than those they have left behind.
It is once again to an uncertain fate that these Rohingya refugees boarded a boat. Young children, men and women, escorted by the Bangladesh Navy to a remote and flood-prone island they are to call home. These persecuted people have been promised a better life there than in the squalid border camps into which they fled. There were desperate scenes at the camps in Cox's Bazar as families were separated and in many cases they were to be taken to the island. The first refugees to disembark on Bhasan Char were temperature checked and then packed into an arrivals hall awaiting instructions from the military. At least 100,000 refugees will be moved to this island. They will have a roof over their heads, but be living in what appears to be prison-like facilities. In 2017, it seemed incomprehensible to us that the island was being considered for inhabitation. We were the first foreign journalists to film there, escorted on our journey through the Bay of Bengal by armed police. A helipad spotted by our drone indicated this so-called solution was being taken seriously. Human rights groups have called on Bangladesh to immediately halt the relocations.
For them to now place people at risk, people that they themselves have rescued and protected, to place them at risk without taking the steps that are needed to ensure their safety, is just, this feels wrong.
The Rohingya escaped from genocide only to become an unwanted burden in Bangladesh. They must now seek refuge in isolation. Debbie Edward, News at 10.
Now, some residents of Edinburgh called the police early this morning to report hearing a loud explosion in a crash, but it turned out to be a rare example of thunder snow. It's a thunderstorm involving snow instead of rain. Experts say it looks and sounds different to normal lightning and thunder because the snow alters the sound and reflects the lightning, making it seem brighter. To warmer climes now, and transporting a giraffe across a crocodile-infested river, well, it's a tall order. But I'll stick my neck out and say few have done it better than the park rangers in Kenya who rescued one giraffe from an island where she'd been trapped by rising floodwaters. They'd prepared for months for the dangerous mile-long crossing.
On Kenya's Lake Baringo, a rescue mission like no other. Longacharo Island is disappearing fast as waters rise 6 inches a day. And so a careful operation to save the island's most precious residents begins. Asiwa is the first of 8 giraffes facing this perilous journey. She's hooded and roped for her own safety. It may
may look distressing, but it's the only way to save her, as the rangers lure her onto a specially built barge for her journey across the crocodile-infested waters. The barge was tested first using 3 impalas, 1 ostrich and 11 warthogs on a dry run, and thankfully all the passengers on that crossing survived. A Siwa is a Rothschild giraffe, a dwindling species in Africa with only 800 left in Kenya. As a Siwa sets sail on her 4-mile journey to safety, she looks like she's making the most of her leisurely cruise across the lake and seems to relax. For the rangers and the charity they're working with, it's been a complex operation. And so the moment of truth, as a Siwa arrives at her new home, a protected wildlife reserve with no shortage of food. Neil Connery, News at 10.
And finally, there's no king or queen of the jungle this year, but after the pandemic forced I'm a Celebrity to relocate from New South Wales to Old North Wales, we too have a brand new queen of the castle.
The first ever Queen of the Castle is Giovanna!
If you were watching just before the news, you will have seen Giovanna Fletcher crowned winner of the show's 20th series. A total of 12 million votes were cast in the final. When asked how she felt, Giovanna found herself, well, lost for words.
I can't believe it. It's been the most amazing experience. And ask me in a week.
And as she was crowned, her brother back home was also brimming with pride.
I'm overwhelmed, but as a brother, it's an amazing thing to see someone you love achieve something. But I don't think she was thinking for Giovanna. I think I was looking at her face. That was overwhelming for her. I don't think she ever expected that in a million years.
Well, before taking the title, viewers saw her eating a cow's nose, a fish eye, and a sheep's testicle, all in the name of the nation's entertainment for a series that overcame the production challenges of COVID, insisting that the show must go on. And that's it for News at 10 for tonight. For the week, well, enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
Dear Britain, nobody could have predicted these times we're living. Every one of our homes is hitting every night. We're wishing that there's no more moments we're missing. But we need to be a bit kinder, hold each other and ourselves that little bit higher.